MSNBC's coverage of the inauguration of Barack Obama continues. Good evening, I'm Chris Matthews, and what a good evening it is. Live on the National Mall, where 2 million people came early today to experience history as Barack Obama was sworn in as our 44th president. This evening we have a new president, Barack Obama, a new head of government, and a new chief of state. As bright and fresh as the sunshine was on this cold day. A country now excited by change, real change, the kind that historic elections do bring. Yes, we saw and felt with the new fullness of our democracy today that elections do matter, and matter immediately. In comes the new with all its new promise. Out goes the old with a smack on the way by. Let's listen.
As for our common defense, we reject as false the choice between our safety and our ideals. Our founding fathers, faced with perils that we can scarcely imagine, drafted a charter to assure the rule of law and the rights of man, a charter expanded by the blood of generations. Those ideals still light the world, and we will not give them up for expedience sake.
We reject as false the choice between our ideals and our safety. What a line, and it's my favorite. At the inaugural luncheon today that followed the ceremony, Senator Ted Kennedy, the Lion of the U.S. Senate, at the age of 76 and suffering from brain cancer, was removed from the Capitol by stretcher and taken to a nearby hospital. The senator is said to be awake and answering questions and being evaluated by doctors. He'll be out by tomorrow, we hear. Meantime, the inaugural parade continues with all its color and excitement. The new first family, of course, watching right there it is. It's America. It's our country with all the color of our history on display and on review. There's the First Lady, Michelle Obama. No more elect. They are the real thing now. Watching from the warmth of that reviewing stand in a very frigid day. I'm joined by the host of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, David Schuster, and Chief Washington correspondent for MSNBC, Norah O'Donnell, who has also been in the cold for much of this day. MSNBC political analyst Pat Buchanan and NBC News Washington Bureau Chief Mark Whitaker. I could ask all of us to give their firsthand experiences of being cold today. I had to put toasty toes stuff in my fingers to get them alive again today after standing out there a few hours. Schuster, you just come in? Did you get out there? Norah was in the cold. You?
No, I was walking all over the mall. I walked all the way in here from North Georgetown, where I live. So I was with the people today, Chris, shivering with all of them for much of the day. But, you know, I got to say, we just saw a video of John Tester, Senator Tester, on a horse. We had been told that he and Max Baucus were going to ride in the parade on a horse. I think we just saw that a moment ago. So
and what did that do for you?
Well, it said to me that if you are with an animal, if you're riding on a horse, that maybe if you're involved, that you stay warm. Or at least you're having fun.
And if you're from Montana, it doesn't hurt to look like a cowboy. A real one. By the way, I met Brian Schweitzer the other day. He is a cowboy. He seems like a cowboy, you know, with his jobber on. He looks kind of tough, walking around town, as you did today, like a regular person, which is very democratic of you to act like a regular person.
You know, to be
which you are.
Well, and to be serious for a second here, Chris, I mean, the thing that struck me the most today was not so much, you know, the people that we all know. It's the people that we are meeting for the first time who worked their hearts out for this campaign, who felt like they were involved for the first time. Coming up later this hour, you're going to meet a couple that runs a barbershop and a beauty salon in Springfield, Ohio. They themselves organized for Barack Obama when he wasn't there, when his campaign wasn't in that city, in a very tough town. They organized. They got more than 500 people registered to vote. They came to Washington without inauguration tickets, without a place to stay, and battling illness. That's the passion. That's the drama of this day through millions of people just like that. You're going to meet them coming up, and it's one of the most remarkable stories I've heard. But again, that's what this day, to me at least, seems like it's all about.
It's also a day of pageantry. We're watching the First Lady, Michelle Obama, there looking, well, resplendent as she reviews the troops, reviews her countrymen as they go by with all the color of our states and our. It's still America. And some of this stuff could have been the Hoover Parade. It's totally the same as it's always been. The more things change, the more they stay. Pat Buchanan, I know you love this old Americana stuff. Right. I'm telling you, it's so familiar. It was there when you were there with Ike. Look at these people. You know, pom-poms, the whole works. Horses, cowboys,
you know, Chris,
Indians.
When I was with there, my father was the accountant for the inaugural committee, or he worked for the accountants. And so we got tickets across from Ike. And I remember some guy saying, look at that cowboy just lassoed Ike. I don't think they would try that in this day and age, but he threw a lasso around Eisenhower. It was a 1952 parade. It was very positive. Well, you know from reading how divided the country was when old Harry Truman went home at 23%. Similar in some ways to this today, Chris, but a very positive feeling moving forward.
Wouldn't it be great, Mark Whitaker, if they could open up Pennsylvania Avenue again, and so we could actually drive that parade route again instead of having it all closed off by tiger teeth as it is today?
That's true, but I'll tell you, I was impressed that the Obamas actually got out of their motorcade, out of the Beast, and walked as much as they did going up to Lafayette Park. And what it made me think of was talking to a very old friend of Obama who talks about how he really doesn't have any fear. We've talked about how calm he is, but he's also fearless. It's one of the things that allowed him to run for president against all odds. And, I think, he was criticized during the campaign for not having that much of a record, and the fact is that's true. But in the end, what America voted for was an intellect and a temperament. He's going to need it now, because if there was ever a time when we needed somebody who was just cool and fearless in the face of very daunting problems, it's now.
You know, it is actually great, fellas, and Nora, start here, to watch these regular people chatting with each other like regular people. You know, they're actually equals, it seems. Barack and Joe Biden, they're not, father-son figures or anything like that, and they're very modern, and they just chat like equals. It's a very modern marriage, very equal, obviously. It's nothing traditional about it. It's very hip. Well, and to watch them behave, it's fun to watch.
Well, they're not royalty, and even though the presidency comes with some of the trappings of royalty, they're not royalty. And following up on Mark's point about being fearless, there was something I underlined in Barack Obama's inaugural address when he said, this has been a nation of risk takers. The doers, the makers of things, some celebrated, but more often men and women obscure in their labor who have carried us up the long, rugged path toward prosperity.
Yeah, we got people with lawnmowers here or something. I don't know what they're doing here with lawnmowers. Go ahead. I'm sorry, it's a little ridiculous. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Those are the doers.
Well,
those are the doers.
We got their lawn. Cutting the lawn. Is this do you cut your own lawn is the question for America.
But his point that in reaffirming the greatness of our nation, we understand that greatness is never a given. It must be earned. This message, too, from Obama today, that it has to be earned, not given, that there's a hard road ahead, that people are going to have to suffer still a bit until it gets better.
Well, we're going to see how that gets over with America, because the festivity is one thing, the pain's another. I go back to this wonderful, I guess Jill, Dr. Biden's had enough of this scene. She has taken a powder here. The three of them are still standing up there enjoying every moment of this thing. And of course, they've got 10, as Nora points out, 10 balls to go to tonight. This guy has got an energy challenge ahead of him. But by the way, we're watching Pennsylvania Avenue as it's been all these years. It's a beautiful thing. The great thing about Washington, Schuster, and Pat, and Mark, and Nora, I welcome every American watching right now. Come to your capital sometime soon. It's all free. If you can get a hotel room, everything else is free. The Smithsonian, the Capitol, the White House, all the museums, all the art museums, the archives, the Natural History Museum, Mount Vernon, everything is absolutely free. It's the only place, and by the way, you paid for it. It's not exactly free. You paid for every nickel of it. But if you paid for it, you ought to come to your capital. It's all here for you. I hope I've encouraged a few vacations, maybe less expensive vacations here right now.
Well, I mean, I think one of the persons who's probably happiest today is Mayor Adrian Fenty. I mean, most of these people who came today, Chris, I got the sense, not most of them, but a lot of them had never been to Washington before.
Yeah.
They had never been involved in the political process. They never really felt like they had a reason to come to Washington. Yeah. And to them, Washington has always stood for division and political divide and things that don't work. This may be the first time in their lives for so many of them that they actually can celebrate something in Washington.
You know, the Air and Space Museum, even the Holocaust Museum, as much as it seems odd, is one of the most educational in a very graphic, tragic way museums you're ever likely to visit. It's right near here. It's state-of-the-art. But there we are. We're watching the White House, of course, in the backdrop there. And, of course, the parade moving past the reviewing stand, which will be gone in a couple of days. But what will remain, Mark Whitaker, is the new president. The importance of his office. Could you delineate a bit? I've been trying to get at it, Mark. And as the former editor of a major magazine, Newsweek, you might be able to draw the distinction. The role of the president, he's got 3 or 4 hats to wear. He will be our commander-in-chief of our military forces. In fact, he is already. He does carry the football, which can start a nuclear war and fight one. He is also head of the executive branch as chief executive. He's also chief of state or head of state. He is the symbol of our country the way a king is. It is amazing how many hats he wears right now.
And mood is going to matter. I think the tone he sets in Washington is going to be very important. He's already being compared to JFK and the Camelot era, but you know, we've got to remember that the early years of JFK, in terms of events and his handling of events, was very rocky. You had the Bay of Pigs, you had the Cuban Missile Crisis, you had Vietnam, the beginnings of our entanglement in Vietnam, and yet what carried him through with the public during that period was that America fell in love with him and his family, their charm, their image, and so forth. So among the many things that the Obamas have going for them, that is something that they are going to need, I think, to keep people positive as he grapples with these very serious problems domestically and overseas.
Pat, the role of president, the head of state role, talk about that if you might, the role of democratic monarch in a way.
Right. Chris, what the President of the United States combines the role of monarch, the Queen of England, with the Prime Minister as well. And what a president does and what his staff should do is repeatedly return him to this role of the unifying monarch. When he goes abroad, he represents the United States of America. In order that you gain money in the bank, if you will, for your role as Prime Minister, where you have policies clearly that the loyal opposition opposes, and you strengthen your forces to drive through your policies. Clearly, the one president who combined the most, I think, in my lifetime, certainly, well, FDR certainly did, but I think was Ronald Reagan. He was just terrific representing America abroad. You were proud to see him standing up there with foreign leaders. He had wit and dash, as did John F. Kennedy. And when Reagan came home with that, of course, he'd said, now, we got this unpopular program for Contra Aid or MX missile or tax cuts, and you use that cash you've built up as the monarch to succeed as Prime Minister. And the best of presidents, you know, they're head of party, they're head of, as you mentioned, head of the executive branch, they're Prime Minister, they're monarch. They try to succeed in all those roles. And you can break those roles down and see, frankly, where I think FDR probably and Reagan pretty much succeeded in all of those roles.
We just watched the Massachusetts 54th, which I believe is the unit, the outfit that, of course, was glorified, and appropriately so, in the movie Glory. Anyway, thanks, Mark Whitaker. Thank you, Pat Buchanan. David Schuster and Nora O'Donnell are staying with us tonight as we continue our coverage of everything tonight. This extraordinary day still being played out in color as we go from the parade at some point tonight. We're about halfway through it right now to the balls. We're going to cover everything tonight, and a lot more politics coming tonight as we begin to look at what this all portends. We're going to talk to some of the people who traveled, by the way, a great distance to get here today. 2 million people stood on the Washington Mall today in frigid weather to watch history. Hardball's live coverage continues after this.
We remain a young nation, but in the words of Scripture, the time has come to set aside childish things. The time has come to reaffirm our enduring spirit, to choose our better history, to carry forward that precious gift, that noble idea passed on from generation to generation, the God-given promise that all are equal, all are free, and all deserve a chance to pursue their full measure of happiness.
When it's people who do the right thing, they call it being responsible. When it's an insurance company, they call it Liberty Mutual. Responsibility. What's your policy? Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Worst case scenario. With only soggy schematics from your subcontractor, your shutoff valve installation is somewhat sketchy. Best case solution, the small business specialist at your Verizon wireless store.
I need a wireless data solution so I can download critical info instantly on site with America's largest 3G network.
Now get a free UM175 USB modem, the Verizon Wireless Small Business Toolbox, brought to you by the Small Business Specialists.
True or false? Your pet is safe from fleas, ticks, and heartworms in winter. Sorry, it's false. And these guys can mean big trouble. Your pets need year-round protection, plus medications for cold weather joint pain. Fortunately, they cost a lot less at 1-800-PET-MEDS, and they're delivered free, right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. For fast service, free shipping, and big savings, call now or order online from 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy.
You love watching your money grow. At HSBC Direct, we love helping you grow it. That's why we're offering one of the highest savings rates in the country. 6 times the national savings average. So get your skates on. Open an HSBC Direct online savings account today. HSBC Direct is brought to you by HSBC, one of the world's largest financial institutions.
Keith Olbermann on President Obama's historic speech.
We are ready to lead once more.
Countdown with Keith Olbermann tonight at 8 Eastern on MSNBC.
We're back watching the reviewing stand, of course, with our new president and vice president reviewing the troops. Well, they are troops, actually, right there. Welcome back to Hardball. Joining me right now is U.S. Congressman Archer Davis. He's a Democrat from Alabama and an honorary co-chair of President Obama's inauguration. And Steve Hildebrand sitting right next to me. He's the Deputy National Campaign Manager for President Obama. Let me start with the Congressman. Today's event, the historic meaning of this today, what happened, what matters coming out of today, this history as we live it.
Chris, is someone who's from the South, this is a remarkable validation of the American spirit today. I was thinking about older African Americans who fought for their country in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, who served their country valiantly, came back home to a country that in some cases literally sent them to the back of the bus, and certainly sent them to second-class status in American life. They loved their country anyway, they fought for their country anyway, and so many of the dreams and ideals they had for their country were validated today.
Steve Hildebrand, how do you take today's inauguration parade and everything that goes with today and have it mean something a year from now, 10 years from now?
Well, I think, we've got a lot of work to do and a lot to prove and a lot of problems to solve. And I think what we saw today and heard today was a very serious guy, knowing the seriousness of the office that he's going after, or coming into.
He's in it, buddy.
He's in it.
You're there. You won. Finally, it's over. You won. You had the inauguration today.
And the serious problems that we face in this country, and we've got a lot to prove. We've got a lot of work to do. But I think his call to the American people to say, we're in this together. We got to do this together. We succeed or fail together. And he's going to constantly call on the American people to help pass his agenda in Congress, to solve problems out in America, to get involved in your communities, to, it really was a call to service in a lot of ways, Chris, and I think that's the kind of president he's going to be for the next 4 years.
Let me ask an ethnic question to Congressman Davis. How does this change black politics in America? Does this open the door, at least theoretically, to going statewide for a lot of people, not to simply be limited to the aspirations of a politician representing a constituency, but does this open the door to, I still know the odds, but does it open more people to perhaps taking a chance on a statewide race who are black?
Well, Chris, two things. First of all, if Barack Obama governs well, and I have no doubt whatsoever that he will, if he governs from the center, a lot of white Americans are going to see his excellence in the White House. They're going to see his skill on display every day. And yes, that inevitably will make it easier for them to consider voting for someone of color. The second lesson from Barack Obama as far as black candidates go is if you're a black candidate in most states, whether it's myself in Alabama or Steve's client Kendrick Meek in Florida, the Democratic Party establishment is almost always going to say, you don't need to be the one who runs. You're black, you're the less electable of the alternative candidates that we have. You know what? All of that was said about Barack Obama. Even when he ran for the Senate in Illinois, much less when he ran for the presidency. I hope that he will galvanize some people to say that local political establishments aren't the best judge of who's the most electable candidates.
Okay, let me get back to Steve Hildebrand. Let me ask you, how do you activate, you know, everybody knows who covers politics that this has been a really participatory campaign. A lot of people that never worked in politics were out there going door to door. A lot of people were involved online in the new politics of voter financing, of election financing and voter organization and the whole thing. How's that going to continue now that you won?
Well, several million of them showed up today to experience this phenomenon. And, you know, people didn't just work in the campaign to win the election. They worked in the campaign to change America. And I think people really understand that. November 4th was a date that was pretty important. January 20th is important, but the next 4 years is what matters. And people want to solve these problems. They're scared. People have lost serious amounts of income. Pre-retirees are devastated in the stock market, the housing, the job losses. You know, people are scared. People in my home community of Sioux Falls, South Dakota are scared about the future, and that's all over the country. I don't think it's going to be hard to keep people involved, and I think people are going to keep Democrats and Republicans in Washington accountable for solving these problems. They're tired of it, and I gotta make this comment about your question to Congressman Davis, because I don't believe that the American people are looking at the same profile of politician that they've always looked for. If we're going to look for a bunch of middle-aged white men, a lot of American people look at the middle-aged white men who sit in Congress and women and believe that they're part of this big mess that they've created. They're not the only part, but they're a part of it. And so I think that Barack's success in predominantly white states is just the start. The mayor of my hometown of Mitchell, South Dakota, probably 5 other African Americans in this small town of 14,000, African American for 14 years. He's no longer with us, but I think you see that all over the place, Chris. You see it in legislative races, in mayors. You know, you see it in a lot of congressional districts. So I think that the color of skin, the gender of a person is not going to be the first thing that people look for. They're going to look for somebody who's going to pay attention to the real problems that we face and whether or not they're going to get their hands dirty when they get to Washington and make bold choices.
Okay, we'll be right back. Thank you, Congressman Archer Davis. Thank you, Steve Hildebrand. You're watching Hardball's live coverage of the inauguration and the celebration thereafter of the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. We're watching all the history. We're also watching the pageantry and the promise that Steve Hildebrand laid out for the future. We'll be right back.
And so, to all the other peoples and governments who are watching today, from the grandest capitals to the small village where my father was born, know that America is a friend of each nation and every man, woman, and child who seeks a future of peace and dignity. And we are ready to lead once more.
It's not easy. I wasn't looking for it to be easy, but I was looking for it to be challenging. My associate's degree in business administration, bachelor's in nursing, MBA.
A doctorate generally doesn't come without sacrifice.
But, you know, life gets in the way.
I got out of the military to take custody of my son.
I've been through a lot. I had to be a wife, a mom,
a single father.
A lot of days I worked on 2-3 hours worth of sleep. but I needed to show my 2 boys.
3 granddaughters.
4 children. If I can do it, they can do it. There's no excuse.
I was the first in my family to graduate from college.
But I won't be the last.
My name is Adam.
Wendy, Chef Natalia, Connie, Diane, Elizabeth,
And I am a Phoenix.
It's time to celebrate an ale with a whole new flavor. Budweiser American Ale. Born of Cascade hops and caramel malted barley for a full-bodied taste and bright, hoppy finish. Here's to a great American ale. Budweiser American Ale.
I'm fast. That's why I use the BlackBerry Bold with AT&T 3G speed. I can surf the internet fast, download attachments fast, and send them to my colleagues fast. Excuse me for a sec. It's good to be fast!
Only AT&T has the new BlackBerry Bold. The fastest BlackBerry ever. Only on the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T.
Plastics, medicines, and innovations that make life modern come from one place. American Chemistry. AmericanChemistry.com. Essential.
I have arthritis in my left hand, and I'm left-handed, but I've been taking Aleve.
Only 2 Aleve can stop pain all day. That would take twice as many Advil or 4 times as many Tylenol.
I've been bowling for 50 years. I would feel bad if I couldn't bowl.
Watch an embed video from every inauguration speech, from FDR to Barack Obama. Only at inauguration.msnbc.com. President Barack Obama, the first 100 days on MSNBC. Understand the challenges we face and the politics of change. With Chris Matthews, Keith Olbermann, and Rachel Maddow, the first 100 days on MSNBC. The place for politics.
Tonight. Well, there they are. Look at it. Former President George W. Bush and Laura Bush down in Midland, Texas, where they met and had their first date, saying hello and thanking people for receiving them so well down there tonight. We want to get back. If we get something fascinating from them, we're going to come back and cover it. We're right back now on the mall. Oh, let's listen to it. Go ahead. Let's do them a favor.
And I am thankful that I had the honor of being the President of the United States for 8 years. I want to thank the Governor and the Attorney General for joining us today and all the state officials. I thank Representative Tom Craddock for joining us and Nadine. I thank the mighty congressman from this district, Michael Conaway, for flying down from Washington. I thank my friend, the Gatlin boys, West Texas raised. Rodney Atkins. I appreciate Rodney coming.
Okay, that's the president, the former president. We're going to get back to him if he gets to something substantive, and he may well in the next couple minutes. But in the meantime, we're going to go back to the mall. We're on the Washington Mall right now in our special setup, our pavilion here. And with me now is strategist Bob Shrum, who was also a speechwriter, of course, for Ted Kennedy, and Lawrence O'Donnell, famed screenwriter, also former chief of staff to the Senate Finance Committee and MSNBC political analyst. Lawrence, you're my hero. You do everything I want to do. You write speeches, you think big about politics, and you write television shows like The West Wing. And I was thinking of you the other day as we look to the future when Jimmy Smits, who wins the presidential election, his character does in West Wing, and he offers the Secretary of State job to the person he beats, Alan Alda's character. And I was thinking, do you think that inspired Barack Obama to give the job to Hillary Clinton?
You know, Chris, I think the one guy in American politics who did not need any inspiration from the West Wing seems to be Barack Obama. He seems to have a natural inclination to these kinds of moves, Chris. I mean, there were many, many parallels and many articles written over the course of this campaign about the parallels between the West Wing and the campaign we ran there prior to this presidential election. But I really think Barack Obama does his own thinking. I hope he saw a few episodes of the show. But but I've got to say he's way ahead of anything we could have written on that show, way ahead of the best that we could have imagined.
You know, it's amazing today to see the small role played by the people that don't win, Bob Shrum. The Clintons made an appearance today, but really it's not their day in any really significant way. Hillary Clinton and Bill have not been invited to the reviewing stand. They're not part of the festivities tonight, as far as I know. It is amazing that there's no, you don't come in second in this business, really, do you?
Well, except that I think Hillary Clinton has gotten a second lease on public power, public life, public prominence in this new administration and new generation by becoming Secretary of State. What did strike me today with respect to the Clintons was that the speech was not only a charter for generational change from Bush, it was also a charter for generational change from Bill Clinton, who in 1996 told us the era of big government is over. Today, Barack Obama said those old arguments don't matter. It's not whether the government's big or whether it's small, it's whether it works. Now, Clinton was trapped in a Republican era, a Democratic president elected with 42%, 43% of the vote. I think we're in a new era, and Obama announced that today in a speech where I thought a lot of the phrases were cut with a diamond.
I'm watching, of course, as we all are. I hope you can see this, Lawrence, the amazingly brilliant band. Look at this sharp band coming out of Ohio State. From Columbus, Ohio, and the president's reviewing them right now. Your sense now of our new head of state, Lawrence O'Donnell, in his role as head of state?
Look, he's off. He's writing the most interesting first chapter of a presidential memoir I think we will ever read, Chris. This is the best writer to take this office in a very long time. He's taking this office at one of the most complex situational moments in our history, and I can't wait. I was thinking of it this morning watching him get into that car. I just can't wait for him to tell us in autobiographical form what this has been like and what it's been like stepping up to this job. It's the first time I've seen someone do this where I really have no sense he doesn't feel predictable to me. It doesn't feel like, oh, well, this is what his next move is, and this is the way he'll handle that, this is the way he'll handle that. He's teaching me moves, Chris, when I'm watching him do this.
Well, you know, the great thing, by the way, that's the OSU band. You ever thought on this band? You seem to be focused on it for some reason.
The OSU Buckeye Band, they're from Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, of course, was a crucial part of Ohio for Barack Obama's victory. The Ohio State Band is actually pretty well known, at least in Big Ten circles, because they formed this Ohio script at Buckeye games, and the senior tuba player gets to dot the I on Ohio.
Okay, you know, going back, I want to ask you about the writing ability. Bob Shrum and Lawrence, both great writers. You know, I was looking at that great new book by Newsweek. Evan Thomas penned it. But he quotes the writings of Barack Obama, where he talks about being a United States Senator, and both of you have worked there. And he talks about being in the Senate chamber and looking around and imagining Hubert Humphrey there, and Paul Douglas, the great senator from Illinois, and imagining Joe McCarthy over in the corner making lists of names of communists or imagined communists. And he imagines Daniel Webster. He goes over to his desk and imagines what it's like to be Daniel Webster. I mean, he is an imaginative guy, and I guess you're right. Let's go back to Shrum on this one, Bob. Imagine his imagination as he's thinking, hey, I'm just one of many presidents who've sat here in this reviewing stand.
You know, I think he isn't just one of many. You've been talking about the parade, and I've really enjoyed it and enjoyed your conversation about it. And I thought of something that happened in 1960. And I think it was the Naval Academy that was marching by, and JFK looked out because he'd been in the Navy, and he noticed something. And when he got into the White House, he called the commandant of the Naval Academy, and he said, why are there no black cadets and no black midshipmen? And he was told there wasn't anybody who was qualified to get in. Well, today, 48 years later, there's somebody who's qualified to review the parade as President of the United States. Yeah. It gives me a lot of faith in America.
Chris, another item from
Lawrence, the imagination of our new president as he thinks and imagines and experiences all this as a writer. I mean, he'll write about this someday, what he's doing right now.
He has the writerly mind, and he has that writerly set of observations. I mean, look, when you send a writer into the Senate chamber, that is what they're going to think about. Daniel Webster, all those predecessors. I just want to add one more anecdote about that 1960 inauguration march up Pennsylvania Avenue that should be of interest to viewers tonight, and the way Pennsylvania Avenue looks now. Another thing that happened at the end of that inaugural march is that JFK said, President Kennedy said, "Why does Pennsylvania Avenue look so bad?" And one of his young aides, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, got to work on the case and made it a lifetime commitment to improve Pennsylvania Avenue, which he did. His last address himself in Washington was on Pennsylvania Avenue. And it's a really, as you know, Chris, there's been an incredible change over the last few decades into what Pennsylvania Avenue is now. And it is really a beautiful place for a national parade.
It's now our Champs-Élysées. It's our great national parade route, and it's also our great avenue. You're right. It used to be nothing but waffle shops and firecracker stores, and it was an embarrassment. It was honky-tonk, and you had to sort of avert your glance as you watched the presidential inaugural parade. Anyway, thank you for that bit of history from Lawrence O'Donnell and Bob Shrum as well. Thank you, gentlemen, as always. When we return, we're going to continue to watch this inaugural parade with the Obamas. There's Michelle Obama, hand over her chest, saluting the passing of midshipmen. This is Hardball's coverage of the inauguration of President Barack Obama on MSNBC.
Coke is a huge global brand. Does that give you any advantages in a tough environment like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I can go to bed in North America, and my colleague in Australia can think about a challenge and make me think differently about it when I wake up the next morning. That's an example in this economy where you can move faster than someone who just goes home and comes back to the problem the next day.
And no matter how fast you move, is it important that it's based on facts?
Well, you know, you can roll around in facts all day long. It's critical that we stay aware of that mountain of data that's coming in and make sure we can mine it for the most valuable nuggets. It helps keep us honest. You know, something we never forget is these brands are not ours. They belong to the consumers who love them every day. If you don't understand that, you will lose your way.
Deal or No Deal is now an online skill game at King.com, where you can play against real people for real cash. What will you choose, deal or no deal? The banker is calling you now at King.com. Play for cash is not available in all states. See King.com for details.
This is America. We protect what we hold dear. And every day, Bank of America is here for you. With 200,000 associates, 6,100 banking centers, and hundreds of products and services to help protect what you have and build opportunities for the future. No wonder families in America trust more of their hard-earned money with us than any other bank. Bank of America, bank of opportunity.
When I was told I had diabetes, I felt amazingly boxed in.
Now, Joe uses the new Contour meter from Bayer.
My meter absolutely adapts to me and my lifestyle. I'm Joe James. Being outside of the box is my simple win.
Now available in 4 vibrant colors.
If you're over 65, you have diabetes, and you're on Medicare, you may qualify for a free meter from Liberty Medical. If you have type 2 diabetes like I have, you're confronted with choices. You can choose to feel sorry for yourself. I hope you don't. I hope you choose to get involved with a good doctor, find out some things about diabetes and your own body in the bargain. You'll learn to check your own blood sugar and check it often. That, along with a simple diet and exercise program, can help keep your diabetes under control. If you're on Medicare, call Liberty Medical. We'll help you keep your diabetes under control. First, we'll give you a free meter. No one is more serious than Liberty about helping you keep your diabetes under control. That's why we're a proud sponsor of the American Diabetes Association in their mission to prevent and cure diabetes.
Plus, get a free diabetic-friendly cookbook when you join Liberty. Call 1-888-740-5420.
Before Obama tackles his first 100 days, Rachel asks, what's in store for his first 100 hours? The Rachel Maddow Show tonight at 9 Eastern on MSNBC.
When we were tested, we refused to let this journey end. That we did not turn back, nor did we falter. And with eyes fixed on the horizon and God's grace upon us, we carried forth that great gift of freedom and delivered it safely to future generations. With hope and virtue, let us brave once more the icy currents and endure what storms may come. Let it be said by our children's children that when we were tested, we refused to let this journey end. That we did not turn back, nor did we falter. And with eyes fixed on the horizon and God's grace upon us, we carried forth that great gift of freedom and delivered it safely to future generations.
Welcome back to Hardball. Special coverage of the inauguration of Barack Obama as our 44th president. Right now with me is Bill Press, who's a nationally syndicated radio host, and MSNBC's political analyst Michelle Bernard, who's also president of the Independent Women's Forum. I want to break to my colleague Nora. You know, this may not be Alfred Hitchcock for everybody. It is an interesting question of suspense. What's Michelle Obama going to wear tonight at all these balls?
Well, we're missing, of course, the serious and the pomp that goes on a day like today. And I'm told by Savannah Guthrie, who covers the White House, that Michelle Obama has apparently still not picked out what dress that she is going to wear tonight. And of course, the parade is running late. It is 6:41. They have to be at their first parade by 8:30, and they're going till 3 o'clock in the morning. They've not had dinner yet. So there's a lot still that the Obamas have to do, and yet the parade, you know, still continues on. It's remarkable that all this has to happen tonight, and he's got to get up early in the morning tomorrow morning to meet with his national security team.
And, you know, it's usual that they make a decision weeks ahead of time, and it's a big designer, and it's a big deal, and they usually get write-ups on it before it occurs, and it's a big rollout. And you're telling me there's there's an assortment of expensive designer gowns lying on her bed, and she's going to pick one out?
According to her staff, she still has not decided. So they are wanting to communicate the message that she's had other important things to do than to spend time picking out what dress to wear.
Okay. Well, I want to bring in Bill Press on that question.
It's easier for the guy because you just put the black tie on, right?
Will you wear the charcoal or the navy? I mean, that's usually the big decision we all have to make. Mr. Press, I haven't heard you lately. You have Democratic credentials, oftentimes mentioned by yourself. Mm-hmm. This event, a Democratic president replacing a Republican president after 8 years, is it anything more than the usual changing of the guard here? You know, flipping 8 years Democrat, then 8 year Republican? Is it just flipping the pillow over to get to the cold side? Is that all this is?
You know what? I think it's a lot more than that this time for a couple of reasons, Chris. Number one, I mean, a major change, and you've been talking about major change in policy. You go from a president who is pursuing an unnecessary war to a president who's vowed to end it. A president, and I thought it was incredibly unusual and courageous of Obama to mention those differences right at the top of his speech today. A president basically ignored universal health care to a president who's going to deliver on it. A president who denied global warming to a president who said he's going to take the lead in trying to end it. That's, I think, the first big difference. But the second difference is the inauguration of the first African-American president of the United States. Chris, growing up not so far from you, on the banks of the Delaware River in a segregated small town, I never thought in my lifetime I'd see the day when an African-American would stand up on the steps of that Capitol and take the oath of office.
And in all truth, I didn't see this fella coming until 4 years ago.
No.
He came out of nowhere in many ways. It wasn't like he had a long political career that led to this.
No, and if anybody, I think, represents the American story, it's Barack Obama. I mean, the son of an immigrant, the son of a mixed racial marriage. You know how in those days, most Americans couldn't even tolerate the idea of that.
Well, in my day,
part of his time in Indonesia, coming back to Hawaii.
A mixed marriage is when one of us married a Protestant.
Yeah, you know,
that was a mixed marriage.
Hey, Chris, and
that was big enough for us to talk about.
And they didn't like that either, right?
Well, it was a matter of discussion. Anyway, without going further, because my parents were like that. So
yeah.
Anyway, let me go. We had Protestant and Catholics starting off too, but they got together on the RC side of the aisle. Let me go to Michelle Obama, and the interesting thing about our Michelle. We couldn't get Michelle Obama right now. We're going to go with Michelle Bernard. Oh, you're a stand-in.
That's a good one,
I made that mistake last night. I can only get one Michelle in my head at the same time. Let me ask you, I used to do that with Clarence Thomas and Clarence Page to my Well, if I had embarrassment, it would be my embarrassment. Let me ask you about this wonderful thing about our political process, which comes to me. We don't have a traditional parliamentary system where you work your way up the system. You go from education minister to work your way up to foreign minister, then defense minister, then you're finally prime minister. In this country, you come out of nowhere. You beat Alan Keyes for a Senate seat in Illinois. Next thing you know, you got a good shot at the presidency. Next thing you know, you're the nominee. Next thing you know, you're president. It all happens in 4 years out of nowhere. This guy came. When did you first hear of Barack Obama? 24? 2004?
At the 2004 Democratic Convention, I watched that speech that he gave. I was completely awestruck, jaw dropped. Who is this man? What kind of a name is Barack? And what an incredible gift he had for speaking. And it was not just his oratorical skills, but the way he was able to deliver a speech that from day one reached out to the right, it reached out to the left, it reached out to centrists, to blacks, to whites, to women, to children. I had never seen anything like it, but I knew that he would be a force to be reckoned with.
Well, as I've shown the tape, I did predict he'd be our first black president that night when I heard it.
And a completely different new... Sorry to interrupt, but I was just going to say I think it's important to note a very new and different type of black politics that we see in Barack Obama. He did not come out of the church as we've known leaders like Martin Luther King to do. He did not, march on the streets of Selma. A lot of people thought that when we saw our first African-American president, it would be someone like John Lewis or someone, from that era. We've seen in Barack Obama, in a lot of the new black mayors that we're seeing across the country as well, a very different type of black leadership. They look at issues differently, reach out to women, reach out to blacks, reach out to whites, look at issues such as education very differently than what we saw in traditional black civil rights leadership. And it is literally as if Barack Obama stands on the shoulders of so many of the great civil rights leaders that came before him, but is a very, very different generation. We see a huge generational divide, I think, in terms of his rhetoric and the way he will govern the country.
Okay, we're back. We're watching Michelle Bernard doing the brand new windshield wiper wave, which has become very popular. Not from Michelle Obama.
That was Michelle Obama, Chris.
Okay, you know what? I'm getting a little punchy here. Michelle Bernard's with me. Michelle Obama's on the stage right there, waving to the crowd as they go by. I also saw somebody doing the monkey as they were dancing by there. I thought it was interesting, a dance from my era. Anyway, thank you, Bill Press. Thank you, Michelle Bernard. The parade's winding down. Actually, it's about 2/3 the way through, but the night is young. We'll be reporting on all the events from Washington tonight. We're still out here on the National Mall. This is Hardball's coverage of the inauguration. What a history day it was. History in the making. The inauguration of Barack Obama.
Wachovia is now part of Wells Fargo. We're now one team that's nationwide and twice as strong. With even more capabilities, more resources, and more solutions planned for the future. So while it's business as usual today, you can look forward to even more great things ahead. Wachovia and Wells Fargo. Together, we'll go far.
They've arrived. New 100-calorie Oreo mini cakesters. Oreo cream between soft chocolate cakes. They're goodies for grown-ups.
If you think about it, this is what makes the Ladders different from other job search sites. We only want the big jobs. Welcome to the Ladders, a premium job site for only 100K plus jobs and only 100K plus talent.
Have you heard the news about Zyrtec? It's fast relief for people with indoor allergies, with outdoor allergies, or people like me who have both.
Zyrtec is fast. In fact, it starts working 2 hours faster than Claritin. It's clinically proven to relieve even your worst allergy symptoms.
From dust mites and pet dander to ragweed and pollen for a full 24 hours. Now I'm freer to do what I want, where I want, even faster.
Zyrtec, the fastest 24-hour allergy relief.
Attention, all Medicare beneficiaries who need assistance getting around their homes. There is a Medicare benefit that may qualify you for a new power chair or scooter at little to no cost to you. Imagine one scooter or power chair that could improve your mobility and your life. One Medicare benefit that, with private insurance, may entitle you to pay little to nothing to own it. One company that can make it all happen.
Your power chair will be paid in full.
The Scooter Store.
Hi, I'm Dan Weston. We're experts at getting you the scooter or power chair you need. In fact, if we pre-qualify you for Medicare reimbursement and Medicare denies your claim, we'll give you your new power chair or scooter free.
I didn't pay a penny out of pocket for my power chair. With help from the Scooter Store, Medicare and my insurance covered it all.
Call the Scooter Store for free information today.
Call 1-800-313-5135 for free information. That number again is 1-800-313-5135.
When you're a spy, the line to kill you gets pretty long. Welcome to Miami.
Burn Notice. All new episodes premiere Thursday at 10. Only on USA. Understand the challenges we face and the politics of change. The first 100 days on MSNBC, the place for politics.
Welcome back to Hardball. We're watching right now the dozens of parades, bands going by, and we're about to reach the end of the parade here. The inauguration parade is coming to an end. In a minute now, the president and the first lady are going to be leaving. Are you used to that yet? The president and the first lady, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. And there's an interesting float going by. That's a NASA float. Obviously, that's one of our space vehicles on wheels as it goes by. Now it is. They're going to be leaving right now, and this has been a very quick parade. It started a bit late, and they obviously zipped it up a bit, but it had all the color of American history. I've said before that today this parade could have been done for Herbert Hoover. This is a very traditional parade, complete with cowboys and Indians and full regalia and headdresses and horses and all kinds of stuff. Very American. Now we have the state-of-the-art space program on display, and actually looks like we're going to have something of an event, extraterrestrial event here. Look at this. It does look like the moon. He's planting the flag on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's obviously simulating a space shot. Anyway, I want to go to David Schuster. You know, there's so many stories from this inauguration day, and many of them belong to the people who traveled so far to get to Washington from all across this great country. And two of the people were Sonny and Beverly Young, who came to D.C. from Springfield, Ohio. Talk about it.
Well, Chris, the reason I wanted you to meet them is that of all the stories that I've heard out of this past year from the campaign and related to this event here, as people came from so far, was theirs. Sonny and Beverly Young, they organized in Springfield, Ohio for Barack Obama out of their barbershop and beauty salon when the Obama campaign wasn't even there yet. They got 500 people to vote. They came here without, like so many people, Chris, without inauguration tickets. They just sort of showed up, and I just wanted you to meet them because they're the most interesting people I've met this past year related to this entire election.
Well, tell us about yourselves. You first, Beverly.
Oh, well, I just want to let you know this is such an honor and a privilege to be here, to represent Springfield, to represent all the people that worked so hard for Obama.
Beverly, explain what you did with your beauty salon.
Well, we needed a place. I have a spot in the back of the barbershop, hers and his beauty and barber salon in Springfield. I have a spot, and so we cleaned it out, organized it, put up posters on the back of Obama, and we set up tables, and we invited everyone in to use this space to organize, to start our community organizing to get Obama elected.
And then the barbershop Sunday became sort of a central meeting place. People would get their hair cut, they would register to vote, they would watch the campaign unfold on television from the barbershop.
Right. That was the focal point of our whole setup there. When people would come in, we'd talk to them about getting registered to vote. And it's just traditional in a lot of barbershops and beauty salons that's what you talk about, especially with this election going on. And so we just kept looking around the town, and we couldn't find anything with Obama's name really on it. And so we and several other, about 5 or 6 other people, we just decided that we would go find an Obama headquarters, which we went to our capital in Springfield.
What do you make of that picture, Sonny and Beverly? There's the President of the United States and the First Lady walking into their old home. It's their new home, but they're acting like they've been there before. But isn't that? And we're going home. We're going upstairs now. I mean, think about that.
They're representing everybody.
Yes.
They are representing everybody. With what we saw with the organizers that we worked with, they love him.
Yeah.
They
Well,
love
what
her.
did you think? I mean, Sonny, I know you're battling some health issues. A lot of folks told you not to make this trip. But you told me, or I heard through my wife, that you regretted not going to see Martin Luther King in 1968. You had to study for school, and you vowed that because of that, you were not going to miss this no matter what?
Well, when I was 17 years old when the March on Washington came, and I wanted to come, and I couldn't because I had some school things that I had to do for some pre-testing for school as a senior. And I just didn't get to come, so I was very disappointed. So in some great way, I just knew that this would make up for it 45 years later.
Okay, Sonny, Beverly, congratulations on your success. Mission accomplished.
Thank you.
You got it done. You got it done. Thank you. We're going to come right back. I want to thank both Sonny and Beverly for coming here. We're staying here for another hour of Hardball. We got a regular show coming up of Hardball with the usual political smackdown coming on this inaugural day. We're going to show you some political, well, some argument coming up here. Stay with us. We'll be right back with the real Hardball show.
The better we breathe, the better we perform. The Infiniti V-Vel engine creates more power using less fuel. Nothing breathes like it. Nothing performs like it. Available on the Infiniti G Sedan and G Coupe, named one of Car and Driver's 10 Best for 2009.
With Capital One Card Lab's new Triple Rewards, me and the lads are having a tough time deciding which category to choose. Like Triple Rewards on electronics. Or gas and groceries.
10 items, Bob.
Maybe Triple Rewards on restaurants and entertainment. Or travel.
Introducing Triple Rewards of your choice. Log on to CardLab at CapitalOne.com to personalize your card.
What's in your wallet?
They say a man should always dress for the job he wants. So why am I dressed up like a pirate in this restaurant? It's all because some hacker stole my identity. Now I'm in here every evening serving chowder and iced tea. Should have gone to freecreditreport.com. I could have seen this coming at me like an atom bomb. They monitor your credit and send you email alerts, so you don't end up selling fish to tourists in t-shirts.
Offer applies with enrollment in Triple Advantage.
Constipation, bloating, gas, diarrhea. People, is your colon sending you a message? Now there's new Philips Colon Health with probiotics. It helps naturally restore the balance in your digestive system, so you can avoid those very unpleasant symptoms with new Philips Colon Health.
So you've been doing a nice job out there helping people save money on car insurance.
Oh, thank you, sir.
But I think there are a few other things you can say about what a reliable company Geico is.
Right, well, maybe our Geico's the third largest car insurance company in America. Nice tidbit there.
Exactly. And I've been thinking, looking a bit more businesslike might help too.
Oh, my. No, it's... What's the word?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hi there, Orbit's Traveler Wellness Center. You booked a flight on Orbitz and the price went down, so here's a price assurance check for the difference.
$138. Thanks. Why didn't you just mail it?
We have a hovercraft.
Orbit's Price Assurance. If another customer books the same flight for less, we automatically send you a check for the difference.
Each of these 124 delicious Campbell's soups contains no MSG. In fact, we make more soups with no MSG than anyone else even makes soups. Campbell's.
Hey, Greg's phone. Greg doesn't have AT&T
TNT, so we got 0 bars here in Brussels. So thanks for the call about hopping on the train and heading to Paris for the weekend. Looks like you won't be hearing from us. Instead, we're gonna hang at this hostel with the Techno Twins, Slot and Veter.
For the best coverage worldwide,